I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, March the 9th. And we're not sure about the schedule on this stampede of fat cattle that's supposed to be coming down the line. We can't really see them yet. We can hear the rumbling off in the distance, but nobody's quite sure when the overwhelming numbers of market-ready cattle are going to show up on the show list. And we expect it to take the fat cattle market down quite a bit. It seems like your feedlots are not too nervous about it. You'd think they would be trying a little bit harder to build this market position up so that it's that much harder to tear it down. But some of the cattle are kind of working and they're just not being that hard to trade with. But a friend of mine that's in the industry that I respect his opinion, I was talking to him on Thursday there, and he said, you know, most of these cattle that are coming, which we all pretty much know, are big calves coming off them ranches there, and late in the year last year, and they're too big to do anything else with but go right to the feedlot. And so we don't like to feed big fat calves, but that's what you have to do when you have to do it. But he says that the bad winter, several storms, just one after the other, seem like is going to hold those cattle back enough where he doesn't expect to see any big numbers of cattle showing up for another 60 days or more. You know, that's definitely opinion. The thing is, those big calves will kind of play out on you. They'll quit you. And so we're not going to be able to take those big calves all the way to 1,600 pounds like we would a green yearling coming off grass. So I think those big calves, those calf-fed cattle, will get so inefficient to feed in that 13.5, 1,400 pound area right there that guys will go ahead and put them on the show list and try to get rid of them because those cattle just aren't converting for them anymore. But that's kind of something to think about and something that we're looking at coming down the road. But we've definitely got numbers of cattle coming, and it's probably going to come up, show up sometime in May, maybe as early as late April. But that's what we have to look forward to or kind of dread going down the line. But look at the board on Thursday. June live cattle futures down $1.55 to end the day at 113.27. April down $1.20 to end the day at 121.77, and we were expecting another low market because of the volatility. The thing that makes it go down is because it's been up kind of for a few days, but it was actually down a little more than anybody saw coming. I wouldn't say it really has that much to do with the market. That's just something to do with the board. But feeder cattle, April down 237 to end the day at 143, and then this feeder cattle market continues to search for round numbers at the end of the day. And then this time it was 143 even on your April feeder cattle futures. March was down 202 to end the day at 141.75, another round number as far as feeder cattle are sold. The fat cattle trade continued to develop more on Thursday. Actually on Wednesday there was 15,200 head sell, so pretty significant. For the week through Wednesday was 24,500 head, so you couldn't say that there hadn't been any trade all week. But then you look at the weighted averages, and we know that the Southern Plains was falling for 126 again, and some Northern Plains trade had started developing at 127. Your weighted average through Wednesday on the 24,500 head in the 5 areas, your weighted average on steers was 126.43, and your dress steers at 203.56. But that's probably what hurt the market as much as anything, is your lack of fight in the Southern Plains to try to build more market position. Southern Plains seemed very content to go ahead and trade at 126 again, which was steady. You can't give it to them there. They didn't lose any more money. But 126 in Texas Panhandle and Kansas feedlot areas. But the northern guys, they wanted more, but they just can't seem to fight off the pressure from the Southern Plains continuing to sell at steady or lower money. And the Northern Plains were forced to take 127, which was steady for them. in Colorado, Nebraska, Iowa, southern Minnesota areas. And they lost a little bit of ground on the dress trade, selling mostly all at 204 instead of the 204, 205 spread that we had the last couple of weeks, and that was mostly steady to $1 lower. Box beef cutout values have been strong this past week, although not the big gains we'd seen the 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. But choice boxes on Thursday's afternoon trade, $223.88, up another 31 cents. Selects up more than that, up $1.58 at $216.78, but the bulk of your sales are going to be higher again this past week. Your choice select spread sitting at $7.10, and like I said, even though we're still in kind of the end of winter, it seems like we're in grilling season already, the way we're seeing that choice select spread out as your middle meats are getting comparatively higher. But your actual dress steer weight for the week ending February the 24th on real numbers was at 883 pounds, actually 2 pounds heavier than the previous week, because they had recovered from a storm that they'd had the previous week that made those weights sink down 9 pounds compared to the previous reported week. But not too large a carcasses there. Your slaughter through this past week, through Thursday, 467,000. That's 2,000 less than the previous week, which was big, and 9,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's look at your feeder cattle markets real-time index on Beef Market Central based on 800-pound steers. Late on Thursday, sitting at 144.34, actually up 51 cents from the late in the day on Wednesday. So didn't sell them too awful bad on Thursday in the sales that were reported on Cattle Market Central. You look at a market there on automated report on Farmers and Ranchers Livestock Auction in Salina, Kansas. Nothing out of market news this early, but you can see it on this report. Feeder steers, the popular weights you see, $1 to $2 lower. Don't pay so much attention to those 6 weights, because there was more of the heavier weight 6s in there than there was the lighter weights, which made that look a whole lot lower than really what it was in actuality. Feeder heifers, popular weights there, selling $4 to $5 lower. But look at an individual quote, and we still want to keep talking about the difference between those stocker cattle, those bigger 6-weight cattle, those hard calf weight yearling type cattle, and into the lower 7s, and either to graze or to go on feed. They want that time. And if you watch the previous report here, I talked about how those cattle weighing in the upper 6s and lower 7s are, in comparison, are selling for more dollars per head than those cattle weighing up there towards 800 pounds. And it's not that this way just out in the corners of your major grazing areas. Check out this report out of Bluegrass Stockyards in Stanford, Kentucky. On Thursday, they sold 67 head of 673 pound steers at $159.75. Now that's $1,075 per head. If you take that $1,075 and divide it back for what an 800-pound steer would be, that would be $134.75. And I tell you what, it's kind of hard to get that much for those kind of cattle weighing that much. But you take those 673-pound steers, and if you ship them out to a major grazing area out in the west, and you kind of recover your costs there. Let's say you get a 45-cent gain on the grass out there. That makes those cattle cost or worth $134 or $1.34 a pound coming off grass, weighing nearly 1,000 pounds if we put 300 pounds on them. And you can still make pretty good money that way, or you could lock them in there, because that board for cattle coming off grass is close to $150. But that's your feeder flash for Friday.